To open the pay-per-view card, UFC 317, International Fight Week, we got Nico Price taking on Jacob Smith. This is going to be one of the most lopsided fights I've ever seen. Nico Price is an old, scrappy vet. I guess he's pretty mid at this point. I mean, even Robbie Lawler knocked him out for his retirement fight, so I don't see any potential in him. And Jacob Smith is a prospect. I think he's 28 or 29 years old. Trains primarily at American Kickboxing Academy, which is where we have seen elite MMA wrestlers train over the years like Khabib, Islam, DC, and Cain Velasquez. I'm pretty sure I have even heard DC vouch for him. They say they haven't seen a wrestling prospect like him since Khabib, and it shows in the betting line. Jacob Smith is a -1,400 favorite, so they believe in him. I believe this is his second fight in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken, maybe the first. He's 10-0, undefeated, had a pretty solid wrestling career, if I'm not mistaken, like not Olympic level, but I believe he was a good college wrestler, so I think he's gonna kill Nico Price. That guy doesn't have a chin anymore. He's like 2-3 in his last 5. Old, slow. So, yeah, pretty easy prediction here. Jacob Smith by TKO. We have everybody's least favorite division, the heavyweight division, and we have Jonathan Denise taking on Alvin Hines. And I'll be honest, never heard of this Alvin Hines guy. That seems like a pretty normal thing in the heavyweight division these days because we are just picking guys off the street at this point, so it's probably not that good because all the heavyweights are just fat and out of shape. How do these guys even compete? They're barely even considered athletes. But not Denise. I mean, he got mauled by Marcin Tybura, so he is missing wrestling or grappling, but at least he has some type of kickboxing ability, like he used to be a glory kickboxer. So at least he's somebody with not just power but also some striking credentials. Honestly, this fight doesn't matter, but it's probably gonna be another fat heavyweight KO. I think Jonathan Denise is going to win this fight by TKO, but yeah, a bunch of fat guys fighting it out. See who wins. I might as well leave my opinion on the John Jones situation. I think that John knew he was scared of Tom, but he also knew that the scandal about him getting into another hit and run would lead to him being stripped. Knowing that he was going to never fight again, he wanted to retire and vacate before the UFC had a chance to strip him. Either way, we at least have the right person and rightful person as the champion, and he is like 2 defenses away from being the best heavyweight of all time anyway, so fuck John Jones. Guys, I don't think I consider myself a gooner, but I don't understand any type of hype that surrounds Tracy Cortez. Some people like her because she is hot, but all she has is a little bit of ass and nothing else. She has a 4/10 face and has 30 pounds of makeup on at all times, even when she fights. How the fuck do you wear eyelashes in mixed martial arts fights? It doesn't make sense and shows proof that she isn't a fighter at heart. Otherwise, she would have been more active and not pulled the stunts she has in the UFC. She has a good win versus Jasmine Jasudavicius, but that was a blatant robbery and is the only thing holding her name in the rankings. She fights like once a year and is always at risk of randomly getting injured. She probably makes more money on Instagram than in the UFC, so she might as well just quit and start an OnlyFans. Viviane Araujo is also a nobody if we're being real. A 13-6 record is pathetic and just shows the state of women's MMA, where half the fighters have these journeyman fighter records even if they are high-ranked in the division. So I'm going to go with the oddsmakers on this fight and pick Tracy Cortez by decision. Have to decide because we all know these women have no power and no ability to finish fights. Does anyone know if Jack Hermanson is still alive at this point? He got one of the best wins in his career in his last fight, but it has been so long since that fight happened. His battle against Joe Pyfer happened in February of 2024, which means he has been out of the octagon for like 18 months at this point. This doesn't make sense because he had defended his spot in the rankings against one of the hottest prospects at middleweight, Joe Pyfer, and he definitely would have gotten a chance to fight up the rankings. He has been so inactive during that time that the UFC low-key forgot about him, and he has been removed from the rankings since then. But now he has a great opportunity in his fight against Gregory Rodriguez. Rodriguez recently lost to Jared Cannonier by TKO after dropping Jared early on, and there was a bit of aura that Rodriguez had coming into that fight that is still somewhat there because they have Jack as a plus 155 underdog, which is crazy. After all, we saw the threat level that Pyfer showed, and that is something that RoboCop cannot replicate. I think my official prediction for this fight is for Jack Hermanson to win by decision, similar to the way he was able to beat Joe Pyfer by decision. He is going to start by starting a little slow but having a snowball effect and winning the second and third rounds more and more dominantly as the fight progresses. We have the biggest parlay seller in the UFC, Peyton Talbot, returning after getting humbled so hard by Raoni Barcelos at UFC 311. Felipe Lima is moving down in weight for this fight, which is a little confusing because he was really good and undefeated at featherweight, but he is on the shorter side and he isn't exactly thick for the division. So I guess he will have a good frame for bantamweight without being undersized like in featherweight because size is such an important factor for grapplers like Lima. I think Peyton Talbot doesn't have his whole heart into MMA and he is more of just pure talent than hard work. I think he will probably still show up with a grappling problem and be exposed once again. The odds makers and fans are in the same favor of this because Peyton Talbot is one of those fighters who gets better with confidence. So if he wants to win, then he needs to stop the takedowns early from Lima and make it clear that the fight is on his feet. But if Lima gets a chance to get a hold of him, it will be difficult for Talbot to get back to his feet and he will lose the pop in his hands that makes him so good in the stand-up. My prediction for this fight is going to be Felipe Lima to win this fight by decision. Renato Moicano versus Beneil Dariush was a day away from happening, but due to the crazy circumstances of Arman Tsarukyan pulling out the morning of weigh-ins, forced Renato Moicano to step into the title fight against Islam. With Moicano stepping in, the Dariush bout was scrapped. But now we are here, and it's the same fight but with different circumstances. When we talked about this fight before, we always knew that Beneil was a good fighter, but he might be washed because he was coming off 2 TKO losses, and Moicano had the momentum with 5 finishes while on a 6-fight win streak. But this isn't the case anymore. Moicano was on a roll when we talked about this matchup last time and was like a minus 200 and something favorite, and now he is only a minus 150 favorite. I think that Beneil Dariush has a good style to counter Moicano because he is an elite level grappler who uses it offensively but has mostly been known for not really letting others use it on him, and he still has good striking. The only fear for Beneil is that he is chinny and old now, but he is the same age as Moicano. So my official prediction for this fight is going to be Beneil Dariush to win by decision and hold his spot in the rankings. Man, I just covered Joshua Van fighting against Bruno Silva like 3 weeks ago, but here we are again with Joshua Van taking a big step up in competition because he is showing up on short notice against the clear #1 contender in the division, Brandon Rodog Royval. Royal has solidified his place as the #1 contender twice in a row, the first one being when he fought Moreno and cooked him, and then fried tire while defending off the nut hugging on his back. Van has been very active and his best attribute is his boxing ability, but we just saw last year that he was KO'd by Charles Johnson, who doesn't have any power in his hands. And Brandon Royval is a very similar build and frame to Charles Johnson, so he will present the same problems. Royal is also known for being able to push a crazy pace, like when he was able to throw like 500 or more strikes against Brandon Moreno at high altitude in Mexico City. He is also a very creative striker who likes to use things like knees and elbows and can be a real surprise to his opponents. I think that this step up in competition is a little early for Joshua Van, and he is still very young and could be a champion in the future, but we are in the now, so I'm predicting Brandon Rodog Royval to win this fight by decision. We have an undisputed world title fight in the flyweight division taking place this weekend in the co-main event of UFC 317. Alexander Pantoja is looking to extend his lead against the rest of the division. He is currently on a legacy run, where he hopes to surpass Mighty Mouse in the quality of wins. To achieve this, Pantoja would need to win as many title fights as Mighty Mouse did, which would mean he would be the GOAT. Kai Kara France may not be the best fighter in this division or may not even be in the top 3 best fighters, but he has the best chance to beat Pantoja because what is needed to beat Pantoja is a puncher's chance, and Kai Kara France has scary power for a flyweight. We have seen previously how Pantoja's rock-solid chin did against someone like Deiveson Figueiredo. It held up, but he did get dropped. And he also lost the fight because it was one of those fights where he couldn't just march forward and swing like a cannibal. I think that Kai Kara-France is the best matchup we will see for Pantoja, and he has the age difference to take him out. But Pantoja does present a skill difference that Kai Kara-France has not been able to overcome to this point. My final prediction for this fight is for Alexander Pantoja to win the fight by third-round submission. The fight we have all been waiting for is finally here. Ilia Topuria is fighting for his second belt in a vacant lightweight championship belt versus former champion Charles Oliveira. This fight has some of the craziest odds for a men's title fight ever. Ilia Topuria is like a -500 favorite, which is a very wide line for a contested title fight like this. I do feel though that Ilia is not fighting the best lightweight on the planet. Arman Tsarukyan is the best lightweight aside from Islam and Ilia. I don't know why Charles is even fighting for a title right now because he is 2-2 in his last 4 and 1-1 in his last 2. Topuria is coming off of 2 of the best back-to-back wins of all time when he beat the 2 best fighters in the history of the featherweight division, and the real cherry on top is that he knocked out both of them within 3 rounds, which is crazy. Charles does present some challenges to Ilia, which is his ground game and clinch work, something others have not done. Others have played the stand-up game and boxed or kickboxed with Ilia, but if you continue to engage in strict striking, you will be left unconscious by Ilia. I think Ilia will stay in the pocket because he is confident, and he is the most technical and powerful striker in the lower weight classes in the UFC. I think he would be a world champion in boxing, and my final prediction for this International Fight Week pay-per-view main event is for Ilia Topuria to win this fight by second TKO. He is the best or second best fighter in the world, and he will prove once again why he has GOAT potential in the sport of mixed martial arts.